All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob over here, and that's Miguel over there. We thought we'd sit down and do a recap of the season. Now that we're into fall and all the nice cars are put away, we thought it'd be a good time to just, go back and have a chat about all the events we went to and put on this year. So, take it away.
Okay. Good year. Good solid year. Not as many shows in cruises and swaps as the previous years, but definitely quality over quantity. We got our 4 VWDOV cruises done, interesting cruises, and then a bunch of bonus car shows in between, and no swap meets this year. No, actually there was just a couple, a couple swap meets.
Yeah, we went to a couple swap meets, but our cruises came out really well. So we did the 4 cruises this year as we usually do. And interesting enough, like as we talked about before, we got lots of rain. In previous years, we didn't get that. We were really lucky with the weather before. Over the last 4 years we've been doing this, we've only had one rainy cruise. And at that one, it was funny, only me, you, and Greg showed up for it. So it's always a worry that, if the weather's not cooperating, what's it going to do for attendance? Are people going to come out? Are they going to skip it? But this year showed that people seem to not mind. 3 out of the 4 drives had rain, and some pretty bad rain. Mm-hmm. And people came out. Even the worst one, which was the Richmond cruise, which was the first time we've done it.
That was, what was it called? That was called Rivers, Tunnels, and Bridges.
I don't remember.
First time we did that route.
Yeah, and
basically a Richmond loop through the Massey Tunnel. Massey Tunnel? No,
we went to River Road.
Yeah, we saw River Road and the Alex Fraser.
Yeah, it was a good drive.
Scenic,
it was a good drive.
Highway.
I really liked it because it was the first time I actually drove my Mark III Cabrio. I've had the car for a couple of years, and been working on it all winter, and even the day before, I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it out to the drive with that car.
That was your first real drive with that car?
It was my first drive with that car. So even though the weather was bad, I had so much fun driving the car, I didn't care. And we had, I think, 6 or 7 cars out that day. Not too many, but you know what? For the weather, it was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And guys were driving; they were having a great time. So even at the end, after the whole thing, I asked a bunch of guys, like, what did they think? They also said it was a good time. So
yeah, except for me, I wasn't too happy about that cruise.
Yeah, I know.
That's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that recently too, and you mentioned that like that one wasn't one of your favorites, and I really enjoyed it. So it's an interesting dynamic how some people prefer one over the other, and so that's why it's good we do such a variety, because then everyone gets to choose their favorites. Mm-hmm. But no, I really liked that drive. Even though the rain came and really washed everything out, it was a good drive, and I'd like to do that route again. But yeah, and then I remember we drove into the next cruise, which was the one that had the best weather, and that was the Fort Langley cruise.
That was a third cruise.
Yeah, and the weather was like beautiful, right? Yeah. I remember
the second cruise before that one. Yeah. That was up to Porto Cove.
No, the first cruise was to Porto Cove.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
no,
I
got everything all mixed up now.
Yeah, the second cruise was the Richmond one.
Yeah.
Because I remember to Porto Cove, I didn't have the Cabrio yet on the road. But yeah, the third one, I remember driving into the parking lot. It was packed. A lot of people came out. That was the biggest attendance we had. We had 21 cars. And I was like worried about, wow, this is going to be hard to keep these people together. Because, if you get over that, like, past the teens, you get past like 16, 17, 18 cars, like, it starts to become difficult to keep them together when you battle traffic and you take turns and get to a light. Although we try our best to like avoid all those kind of traffic situations, we try to keep the cruise like as continuous as possible. Still, I was worried that, oh gosh, like we might lose some people, but it actually worked out perfect. I think more cars.
We did lose a car though. We did lose a car.
Yeah, to mechanical failure.
Yeah, that's right.
But not because they got lost or held up.
But we stopped. We pulled over for a little bit.
Yeah, but that's fine. But I mean, like when you get up to like too many vehicles, you can't keep a group together.
Yeah, no, it's very.
So I was
it's difficult, and then obviously the speed also reduces.
Yeah, so that too.
So sometimes we're going below the speed limit.
Well, yeah, because you're trying to keep a train together. Yeah, absolutely. So there's really like a fine line of how many cars you want to have, and I think for us is like that high teens is like perfect. I mean, if a few more show up, it's great, but this is also one of the reasons why we don't push to have like tons of members in the group, because we don't want 50 cars to show up. If we have that kind of attendance, we'll have to do something different, like a cars and coffee type of event, or maybe a show or something just like completely different. But for a drive, that's like a max. And we've learned that like through the cruise we put on, that like, we've never really had problems holding the group together, but there's always times where things happen. You learn every time you do one. I think that's like kind of like 20-ish cars is like, you don't want more than that.
Yeah, that's the threshold. 15 to 20.
That's like
max.
That's you wouldn't. I mean, if we get extra cars show up, we'll deal with it. But I feel like that like high teens is like, for the kind of routes we put on, is like where you want to be at most. And of course, I mean, if less show up, that's fine too. But then it just makes the cruise a little bit smoother, because if you get 7-8 cars show up, it's a lot easier to keep them together, and like you said, the speed is a little higher. You can go a little better, because especially when we're doing a large group, you have cars like my Mark II Jetta automatic, which is gutless, and then you got a guy with a supercharged VR6, and it's like, well, I'm holding them up because I can only do so much up a hill or something like that. So and it just reduces the whole speed of the group, which is fine. I mean, we're not racing, we're trying to do just like scenic like cruises, but it definitely does slow the group down when you have more cars than not. But we've done really well with it. I have no problems. All the cruises this year went off just fine. And good attendance. 3 out of 4 had choppy weather, and it was great.
Yep.
People came out, so really good.
And our final one is by far the most successful.
It had rain too.
Cruise of the year. It had rain too, but it's the one that everybody enjoys the most.
Yeah. Majority. Yeah.
Longer route.
Yeah.
There's a break in between, just at a gas station, and then we end up at a German restaurant for some schnitzels. Yeah,
and that one always makes for a long day, but it's fun.
Yeah, it does make it for a long day.
But we've been doing that one since the beginning, and it's always going to be the last one.
It become the mainstay.
I mean, unless something changes, but that's kind of the standing plan, right? Yeah. Keep that one to the end, and it's a nice like farewell to the season. For our personal cruises, great time. And then, of course, we went to a bunch of other events that were mainly held in the States. I would say Oregon and Washington State. I think one of my favorite events that we went to this year was Stanza Wars in Bellevue.
Surprising.
Yeah, because it was just unexpected. We kind of just last minute decided, hey, let's do this thing.
Yep.
It was an evening event, which was so easy to go because...
Very, very casual.
Well, yeah, and we, it's you don't ruin a whole day doing it. When we go to these other shows, you go the night before, or we're getting up at the crack of dawn, and we're gone all day. You get home super late.
Right.
This one, it's only like an hour and a half drive or 2 hours.
Like an hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah, after you cross the border.
And none of us took any show cars either.
No, we just drove your car.
Yeah.
But it once we crossed the border, it's about an hour and a half, right?
Yeah, it was, and also in the evening, there's not too much traffic. It was smooth sailing, and
so we left the house at like 3 p.m. or something. The event starts at 5 or 6.
Yeah.
We got there.
I think it's 5 or 6 until 10.
Yeah, so we got
10
there.
10 or 11 p.m.
Dinner time, whatever, 5, 6 o'clock, and the place was packed. What was that?
That's a bug zapper.
Fudge. Dang. That was great. Yeah.
It doesn't go off that often. You're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Shit. But it just was packed. I remember feeling like we're in the Fast and Furious or something. Like the place was just
it's like one
energetic. Of those packed.
One of those stereotypical underground or parking lot scenes.
Full.
I do recommend it, even if it's not your thing. If you're not into the Japanese stuff or into the stand stuff, it's definitely an interesting. I mean, interesting environment.
It wasn't the cars that I thought. It wasn't the type of cars that made the event great. It was just the atmosphere was good. It was busy. Yep. People were having a good time. They do a fantastic job there setting their shows up. With bathrooms and just like food trucks and just space, and they park well, and they make sure everyone's they set up the cars so it's just easy to get in and out, and then there's space, and it just fluid. It works. So it was just fantastic, and that's all. You know what happened that day, right? You don't know?
I can't remember now.
That's the day we were driving down and Trump got shot in the ear.
Oh, that's
remember?
Right. Yeah.
That's one of those things where You always remember. Well, you already forgot.
Well, no, because I'm only thinking about cars.
No, but that's one of
in
those,
regards to this. But
I know,
you're
but
right.
that's one of those things where like you're going to always remember like where you were when it happened.
That's
and
right.
I remember
We were cruising. We were on our way down.
Yeah, so we had just crossed into the United States.
Yeah.
And then we hear about this like big news story
Yeah.
that happened in the United States while we had just entered the United States.
That's
So that was one of those things I'll remember, down the line. It's just where you were when you heard that news.
That's right. That's right.
Just because it was just where we happened to be. But
Yeah.
I guess it's not so memorable for him. 2 months later, he doesn't remember.
No, because I'm literally thinking about the cars, right? You know, actually,
Jake, what happened?
I'll tell you what I was thinking. You know what I was thinking that was memorable about that day in regards to the car show? What was our favorite car at that show?
Our favorite car at that show?
Our favorite car at that show. All three of us. Or the car that we gravitated, the car that we looked at the most.
There was a few good ones, but I'm already forgetting.
And we spoke to the owner for quite a while.
Give me a
about
hint.
It was a Crown.
Oh, the Crown. No, that wasn't Crown. That was
Was it a Crown?
Century.
Century, that's right.
I don't know if that's my favorite car. It was a good one.
Okay, maybe not your favorite, but
There was
it's
a
the one that
couple-
we stood around and we
We
talked
chatted with the guy for a while,
yeah.
but there was a couple like cool, like clean cars
Yeah.
that were just like some '80s like retro cars that were just really clean.
That's right. Like that SVX.
SVX was good. There was a couple other ones in that area too. There was lots of good cars. I mean, there was some like really nice. Just endless. I mean, you start rambling off like you're gonna miss a bunch. I mean, there's tons of nice. There's a bunch of stuff that was kind of like over the top, but
Of course,
some like you know what was one of my favorites? There was that. I think it was a Toyota Soarer.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a Soarer. I can't remember now, but it was like a late 80s, early 90s, like Japanese, like a box sedan or two-door sedan. I can't remember. I think it was a Soarer, but it was like had the hydraulics. It was like a lowrider.
Oh, I remember that.
Had the hydraulics.
It wasn't a Soarer, but I know
Yeah, it might have been.
it wasn't a Soarer. No.
No, what was it?
I think it might have even been a Nissan or.
I don't remember. Anyways, but
it was a very cool
But
car.
it was a Japanese car, like right-hand drive, imported, and it was on wires with like the chrome fender moldings, and it had not air ride hydraulics. It had like the freaking stance like a '64 Impala, and that was so cool because it was completely different.
That's right. I mean,
Completely different.
We've all seen Japanese lowriders in North America.
Which one?
But like in magazines
that?
and whatnot. We've
Oh, like-
seen them
like
before,
like mini trucks?
Accords and whatnot,
Yeah.
from back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah,
But I've
yeah.
never seen a Japanese market vehicle.
Oh, not anymore.
A Japanese market vehicle done with the
And that guy
lowrider
did it. He
treatment.
bought it stock, and he
That's
did it.
right.
'Cause I remember I asked him. So that was super cool to see.
Yeah.
But just the atmosphere was good. That's something that just like I don't feel as much in our local scene. It's just it's been a while since we've had an event where you go and you go wow, and that was a good one, really good. And then what about you? What was your favorite event this year?
Favorite event?
Yeah.
No, that's easily. Well, there's two ways to pick. My absolute favorite show was Redwood.
Oh yeah.
My favorite experience overall was the fiasco of Pacific Waterland.
But even Redwood that one rained out too.
Right.
And it was good.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was still good.
There wasn't as many cars as there would have been if it hadn't rained, because we went the year before, and it was a bigger show. But still, there's a lot of cars, and the weather was bad.
Yeah.
Like it rained the whole time. I mean, there was breaks, but it wasn't.
did,
But
it
it wasn't
did.
like
Maybe-
it rained for an hour and then it stopped. Like it was raining the whole time.
And maybe half of the cars that showed up last year.
Yeah, but it was still good.
It was still definitely worth the drive.
Yeah,
That was the car. That was the show that I was supposed to take my Ford Probe to.
I know.
That I had worked on for 3-4 solid weeks getting it ready,
Yeah.
and then it developed an oil leak the night before.
Well, this is the thing with cars. It's always like that. It's always like you push, and that's why I always respect. Like, this is why I always respect cars at shows. When you see a car that's really well done and put together, the amount of effort it takes to get to that point. Because more often than not, you're chasing issues like up until the morning of. Even like when we took my Audi to Portland, it was
And we didn't even drive that car there, and
No.
even then we had issues.
Yeah, but that car, we had put a lot of effort into getting it to a state where it was able to be driven on off a trailer.
Yeah.
But even so, it was like how many times were we minutes from deciding like we have to abort this mission? Like there was probably like 10 times throughout the course of the leading up days and the day of that we were like may have to abort this plan that we've been working on for, I don't know, I want to say almost months, renting trailers and getting the car ready and taking the time and just planning and just the amount.
Issues with the tow vehicle, issues with the trailer, issues with the wiring with the trailer.
We literally...
Getting the car on the trailer.
If we had crossed the border 10 minutes later, it would have been like, it would have ruined the whole trip. We just made it in time that we could still do everything that we set out to do, and it worked out. And that was painstaking. And that's just to take a car down to a show that you're just trailering it down, just to like have it in the event. That's not even like trying to win awards or trying to detail it, like, you know, or just you're not competing. That was literally, we watched it for the first time in 10 years.
So the show was Pacific Waterland.
Yeah, Oregon, Woodburn, Oregon.
Woodburn, Oregon, that's right. And that particular year, they were doing, what was it called? The Audi Expo? No,
that's a different show. They were doing like a Pacific Northwest, like Audi Quattro gathering. They wanted to, Joe, the organizer of that meet, wanted to get as many Audi Quattros from the 80s as he could in one place at the same time. So he was working all year, you know, reaching out to all the owners that he knows that are within a reasonable distance of Oregon to try to get them to bring their cars out. And he reached out to me at some point in the winter telling me about the event, and I hadn't driven the car in 10 years. It's been buried in my garage, you know, under like a thick layer of dust with like crap stacked on top of it and whatever.
Typical garage car.
Yeah, and it just no plan to resurrect anytime soon. And then, you know, he said, "Hey, bring it out." And so I thought, okay, well, you know, maybe we can do that. And so that plan was put into motion because that car's heavy. There's no way you're pushing that car into a trailer. I mean, not into that trailer. Maybe on some kind of like flat, like trailer with like air ride that like slinks down to the ground.
Low rider cater trailers.
No way. Yeah. You know, it was hard enough driving onto the trailer when we actually had to end up doing it, right? Plenty of time. So, you know, plan was put into motion to get the thing running. I haven't started it in like, I don't know, 3 years plus. It wasn't running. Last time I parked it in the garage and I went to start it, it wouldn't start. So that was, you know, 3-ish some odd years ago, maybe more. You came over, we tried to diagnose it, and we just left it. I mean, whatever. And so we had to get it running reliably enough to, you know, drive it in and out of the garage and stuff like that. So had to do all that, you know, figuring out tow vehicles, renting trailers. Just there's so much more to it. So, you know, like actually when you walk through a show and you see all the cars that are there and people, and you realize and understand the amount of effort it takes to get to that stage. Because for every car that's at a show, there's 20 more sitting in garages in pieces, not completed. Guys have thrown in the towel or got frustrated at.
Yeah.
So when you actually walk around and you see the stuff that's actually made it, you really have to respect the efforts, right? Because it's massive. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's always the thing I always like to see. Oh, and I always think about when I see these things. So like when you see something that's super nice, it's like, man, it's just incredible, right? Yep. So that's always nice to see. So it's always nice to see when you go to these events, people come out, right? Rain or shine. So that was good. Yeah, Redwood was good. You said Redwood was one of them, and then Pacific Waterlands was the other. I guess Redwood was good for you because you actually got an award for your car.
Oh, well, that's not even the reason why I chose Redwood. Is I don't know. I like the show. I like the celebration of 80s and 90s. I like the diversity. I mean, we'll have a super rare Lotus Esprit, like one of 500 or 200, parked next to a Dodge Turbo minivan.
Yeah, but that guy was getting a lot of attention with that minivan.
Oh, for sure, right? Yeah. Or I don't know, like a random 80s
Renault Le Car,
and then a full-on show car E30 M3.
Yeah, or like a Grand Marquis, like Mercury with wood on the side,
or Subaru Brat.
Yeah, with the seats in the back. Yeah, but again, they do a good job. Like the show was just well organized. I mean, lots of energy, you know, music.
Good location.
Yeah, I mean, just well organized.
At Griffiths Garage.
Yeah, so even though the weather wasn't good, you still have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always a disappointment when the weather's not there and then it just like ruins an event, right? Mm-hmm. I don't mind if the weather's not the greatest and you still get a decent turnout. I mean, yeah, I understand not everyone's going to come out, and that's fine. I get that. That makes sense. But, you know, the car's not going to melt either, right? So, you know, for the most part, guys should still show up and the weather's not the best. But that's all right. I get it.
Yeah, Old School reunion. That was a good show.
Yeah.
Very good weather, too.
Oh, that was really good weather. Yeah. Only
fantastic venue at that estate.
park? Yeah.
The LeMay.
Yeah, the LeMay.
It's not the museum, but...
No, it's called like the Marymount.
Okay.
Which is like their second location, or I guess it made their more original, kind of like their estate where they store a lot of their cars, and then the museum is just like, you know, it's a separate
that
thing.
was fantastic.
Yeah, it's always a good show too.
It's more Japanese cars.
There's more Japanese cars than European and domestic. There's some no, I think they're trying. It's mainly European and Japanese, I guess.
I think the domestic stuff there is more kind of hybrid, where it was Japanese
kind of like rebadged cars.
Yeah. But I think it's
like Eagles or whatever.
Yeah. But I think it's mostly Japanese,
like Stereons and Chrysler Conquest.
European.
Yeah, but you're right. Like it's definitely more Japanese. I mean, there's still lots of European cars there, but it's definitely, I would say, maybe like 65% Japanese and maybe 30% European, I would say maybe, which is fine.
That's a good one. I want to go every year.
But that's also the way the car scene seems to be going these days. You know, we've seen it with the European car shows. They're taking big hits. Yep. We used to go to so many Volkswagen shows in Oregon and Washington State as well as here. And I don't think there is a Volkswagen show in Washington State anymore. I mean, they are like air-cooled ones, but as far as water-cooled,
no, not really.
There's none.
It's more of a blending everything together, and then it's mostly Japanese.
Yeah, but they're gone.
Yeah.
Oregon still has Pacific Waterland, but Washington State, there used to be some great events that I've been going to for 20 some odd years. They're gone. Mm-hmm. And the same here. I mean, we still have the Great Canadian, but it's definitely like almost a shadow of itself compared to what the show was in its prime, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just definitely the scene is turning away from being European centric and going mega Japanese. Yeah. Even that checkpoint event we went to at Lordco.
Right.
That thing was packed.
But that's also indicative of the age group.
Well, no, because when we were young, we were into European cars.
No, of course. But I'm saying like the strong groups right now are the younger guys.
Yeah.
The older guys are simply not bringing out their cars, or they've given up, or they've left the scene altogether.
Yeah, but that doesn't have. I don't think the shift has anything to do with age. I mean, I think you're right that younger people are just not doing Volkswagen stuff, but it's not because they're young. It's because just they're drawn to Japanese stuff versus we were drawn to European stuff when we were coming up, right? Well, there's lots of reasons behind it. You can analyze it, you know, video games and whatever. You know, the golden era Japanese cars in the 90s. They're just great cars, you know, but Halo. And there's so much stuff, but it's a fact that, you know, the European car community is getting smaller, which is kind of partially, or a big factor in why we do what we do to try to, you know, keep a little bit of enthusiasm going that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and even that, like I said, going back to that event, that checkpoint event we went to at Lordco, that pop-up they had, the place was packed. Yeah. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and it was just packed.
I was very surprised, yeah.
We're on an industrial area in Poco, and there's like nowhere to park. I think we stuck our cars in like a ditch. Mm-hmm. You know,
literally,
backed into a ditch.
Yeah.
And as far as I could see up and down Kingsway in Poco, like just cars parked like all on the side of the road, and there's nowhere to go. And the event was packed, just swarming with people, right? That the kind of crowds we just don't see with the European stuff. You don't see it.
Well, we did at some point.
I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, of course. No, it's dwindling.
Yeah, and it's a good segue into that second thing we were going to talk about, and that's the fact that PBW Magazine was purchased by Jamie Orr and his editor, and they're taking over the magazine as of December, which is also an interesting thing. So I suppose, you know, this is kind of fresh news. It kind of dropped just a few days ago. But I think that's interesting as well because I've noticed big time that print media is just completely like almost forgotten about. I remember, you know, when I was a kid, we would drive down to North Vancouver, because it was like a news. It's still, I'm sure it's still there. I think it was like, I can't remember what the store was called. Like, I don't know. I'll butcher it if I try to guess what the store was called. But it was a newsstand in North Van Lonsdale where they got all the like international newspapers and magazines, and you'd go there and it'd be just like plethora of like stuff that you can't buy like at your local like supermarket, right? So my brother and I, we would drive down there when he was his license. I was a kid. Every month we'd buy the Golf, we'd buy PBW like in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And they're awesome. We'd like make it a trip. We'd drive all the way out there and get these magazines, and they're awesome. We'd read them cover to cover, highlight stuff, just like take it in. And now it's like nobody even reads it anymore. I was looking at some old family videos. I was telling you that I like had the videos. What do you call it? Like converted to like a MP media file, whatever, digital. Yeah. The old like camera, you know, from the 80s, 90s. And it's funny, I'm looking at like a family vacation we took to Southern California in the 1995. And we're driving in my dad's like Mercedes there. And I don't know who's filming, but like the pans to the back seat, and there I am. I'm like 10 years old. I'm sitting there reading a VW Trends magazine.
Really?
It's hilarious.
Cool.
It's hilarious.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, nobody does that anymore. And I don't know if you remember, but do you remember? I don't know if this is where we first met, but at Chapters in Metrotown?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. I specifically went to Chapters Metrotown to buy PVW.
I know.
And you were doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. It was like 20 years ago. Yeah. I was probably like, 20 years old or so. And same thing. I would go down, because by this time, but when I was a kid, you couldn't buy at Chapters. You had to go to North Vancouver. But by then, you could get at Chapters, and a few other stores. It got bigger, right? So, yeah. So I would do the same thing, after work and like late evenings, because that place was open like till like 10 or something. I remember. Go out there and get it every month, and I was cruising and checking out the magazine, and you were doing the same thing, and then you were trying to pick me up.
Okay. And I think, and then that was it. And then we didn't see each other for like quite a while after that.
Yeah,
it was just like a simple, hey, how's it going? We're both looking at the same magazines. I
know, right?
We chatted up, and then I probably ran into you again 4 or 5 years later.
Some other point, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's just like that. That's going away, right?
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you the other day that I still do occasionally go to like the newsstand section at the grocery stores and just have a look at what's there out of curiosity. And last week I was just doing some grocery shopping, and I went into Save On, and I went to the newsstand and just to see what's there. And there's like hardly any car magazines, like whatsoever. There's like maybe like 5 or 6, and like that's it. And I remember before it'd be like 30 to choose from, just tons, right? You had like Road and Track, Car and Driver, Automobile, Motor Trend, and they're literally all the same thing. Yeah. They're all just like reviewing new cars, but they were for like 50 years. They're always.
Do you remember DuPont Registry?
Oh, I used to buy it in the early 90s. You see all like
I love that stuff.
All the exotic cars and like Lambos and like just weird like the Hummers and like all that big money stuff, and like.
It's funny, we buy it as kids.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there wasn't really any articles in there.
No, it was just cool pictures and ads.
It was just ads.
That's all it was. Yeah, but it was like a big glossy magazine.
Of course, yeah. And it had big pictures sometimes.
Yeah, it's like cool looking cars. Yeah. It was basically Instagram before Instagram.
Like
you just feel like every page like 20 ads of like sweet cars. You just like, here's like things are thick.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, I used to buy it all the time.
Good bang for your buck, tons of photos, yeah.
Yeah, you're paying like $8-9 for this magazine in the 90s. It's like, you're a kid, what are you doing buying this thing? But yeah, absolutely.
Dreaming.
Dreaming. Yeah, no, I definitely was buying that magazine.
Yeah.
I was buying tons of magazines. I was reading car magazines all the time. But that was in the times where there was no internet, and you had to get that magazine, and you waited for that magazine to see what's coming up next. Mm-hmm. Whose cars in the magazine? Like who's building what? Let's see some pictures from car shows like that you don't go to because they're too far away. Let's see. Now it's just that's irrelevant. Now it's all instantaneous.
Or as they're building.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not new. I mean, I remember seeing that in the forums, right?
But this is before forums too, like in the 90s, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we're going way back.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you're dating yourself.
Yeah, and then later on too. But as that era came along, things started to change.
Yeah.
When the forum era, the internet era came in, things just started to change. And at first, it was good. At first, it was like, oh, great! Now we can reach more people, find more people who have like interests, and it actually grew the scene. But then by the time the forums are so short-lived. I think there was like maybe a 10-year era yeah, about 10-year era where they thrived, and then then you got your Facebook came in and Instagram and all the other stuff came in, and it just diluted it to oblivion.
I think Vortex Forum at one point was
The biggest forum in the world.
biggest globally, yeah.
In the world. Like of anything.
Yeah,
Like of any subject matter, the VW Vortex was the biggest internet forum in the world.
I remember every day at night, in the evening when I finish work or school, the car lounge.
Oh, yeah, it was endless
always
reading.
there.
It was endless. Build threads, just endless.
Yeah.
And now, again, it's like I don't even go on it anymore.
No, I can't tell you the last time I went on it.
No, and then, of course, then the photo bucket thing happened where all the photos were removed. And
I think
it just all
that's,
went downhill.
honestly, that's one of the big contributors to the forums getting killed as well.
Yeah, big time. Oh, 100% it has to
Because,
be.
you'd be searching stuff and all the photos are dead. Well, what's the point?
It has to be. It has to be like a major reason why the forums died, for sure. And then people moved away from it because they moved into the other social media platforms, and with the ones and they're unfortunately not set up to be friendly to like car stuff.
No.
You can't put a build thread on Facebook group. It doesn't work.
No, not really, but you never know. Something might pop up that'll allow for that, or you have to create your own group and then cross-post. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's just not the same.
It's not the same.
And then I was talking to somebody about it, how, kids these days, because they didn't grow up with forums, have no idea what they're missing.
Take it easy, old man.
I know, right? They have no idea what they're missing.
No.
Like, you can't explain to somebody how good the forum era was if they didn't experience it. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Because like if I had never seen a forum and you showed me one, I'd be like, okay, cool story. What's so great about this message board? Who cares? It's not it. There's a magic to it, right?
I still remember the early memes and like all the
of
all
course.
the virus stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we try to keep a little bit alive with the cruises and everything like that. But we'll see what they do with the magazine. I'm interested. I think that. I read in the post that they've been shopping the magazine all spring and summer to try to find a new like person to take it over, and they were unsuccessful. So in the end, Jamie and his editor ended up buying the magazine.
Makes sense.
So if I'm interpreting that right, I'm assuming that it would have otherwise shut down.
Most likely, yeah.
Which is sad, right?
Or maybe it would have gone digital only, and then
which is a nail in the
I don't
coffin
care
anyways.
for the digital.
No,
they did that for quite a while too. They offered the digital version as well.
Well, yeah, but you have to have that physical copy.
Yeah, even for free, I wouldn't open it up.
No, for any magazine, if it's not in your hand, it might as well just not do it.
Yeah.
But there are some magazines that have come back and are thriving. The Aircool guys have a really good one called Air Mighty, and it's like these beautiful books. Because that's another thing about PBW that you used to.
It's a magazine, but it's almost like a book. Like
yeah.
It's thick. It's very good quality.
Nice paper.
It's like something you leave on your table, almost, like a nice piece.
Like really nice.
Yeah.
But that's a thing that actually made PBW stand out in the early days. I've got a lot of the early issues from like mid 90s, and they have just really nice thick paper covers and the nice, whereas normal magazines were like smaller size.
The outer page was a lot thicker.
It was.
Very glossy.
Yeah, the new ones, like you can flop them around.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that. They were
cheap.
Exactly, like thin paper. But they had they stood out because they were like just a nicer paper. Yeah, I
and
know.
fantastic posters in every single one.
Which they might still do, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they just were better. So I think now, to do a magazine, you just have to do it better.
Yeah.
I was telling you, I picked up a copy of Hot Rod magazine just in my hand at the newsstand at the grocery store the other day because it caught my eye because it said autumn or fall 2024, and I was like, whoa! Hot Rod magazine's been around since like the 40s.
Quarterly magazine now.
No, yeah, now all of a sudden it's a quarterly magazine.
Yeah.
Even those guys, Hot Rod community is massive. The domestic,
and you'd think that's also an older generation that still wants to buy the magazines instead of going online.
But there's the muscle car. The hot rods is just it's not defined by generation.
No, but I'm talking about hot rods specifically, right? That's
but
there's a stereotype there.
Yeah, but Hot Rod magazine is a magazine that just anyone who's into building performance American cars, like they'll want to read it, right? Mm-hmm. And even that magazine's gone quarterly. I picked it up and I think it's so thin. It's like one ply, like toilet paper from like the gas station. Like it's just like I was saddened by it. Jeez. I'm not a buyer. I've read a few issues here and there, but for a magazine that's been around since the late 1940s, to be gone down to a quarterly and this thin, that just says a lot too, right? So, but they have, those guys have the Rodder's Journal, which is like Air Mighty, this beautiful book.
I think that one I've seen.
Yeah, and it's quarterly, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't have any of those cars, and I've bought a few issues just because they're great. Beautiful photography, awesome paper, like just fantastic quality, right? Not full of ads.
Yeah.
You don't have to sift. You're not sifting through the ads to find content. It's just the good stuff. I think PBW to survive might have to do something similar. It might just like up the quality and just cater to like
reduce frequency, up the quality.
Yeah, just cater to a specific crowd. Even make it a little bit more expensive. I'll pay if it's a good magazine. Like if it's a magazine that it's like a book. Like you said, you can put on the coffee table. It's not just something you read once and throw away. I'd pay more, and I'd look forward to it. So I don't know. We'll see what they do with it, but it's bleak. Like it's the European scene is at a low. What do you think?
Seems like it.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah,
might turn around.
Well, yeah. I mean, these things help, right? Things like the 70s, 80s car shows, and YouTube content, stuff like that. I mean, we're seeing awesome feedback from.
Well, even with the car scene, like going back to it, like a lot of the specialized stuff is kind of reducing, and kind of everything. Like instead of having just a VW show, which is getting smaller and smaller, you're starting to get these shows. For example, Redwood, Old School Reunion, Stance Wars,
Cars and Coffees,
everything.
Cars and Coffees.
It's everything. You have a good mixture of different styles.
Oh, that's great.
Different brands, different scenes,
Yeah,
all under one
fine.
roof, where everything's kind of blending together. Which I like, because you go and you have a nice diverse show, and you never know what you'll see. You'll see cars from a completely different scene that you've never seen before.
Yeah, like when we went to
new owners. Even
like Redwood. What was your favorite car at Redwood?
Oh man, well, it was one of the Formula One cars.
Well, yeah,
but that's different.
That doesn't count. That's part of their
favorite car.
That's part of their personal collection inside. But
that's a good question.
Well, not even favorite, but remember how much time you spent with those dudes with that Nissan Multi?
Yes.
Yeah, there was like a 86, 87 Nissan Multi. You know what they call them in the States?
Prairie? No,
they call it Nissan Stanza.
Oh, okay. So in Japan, they were called the Prairie.
Yeah, but it's funny because...
Stanza.
Yeah, but it's funny because in Canada...
Wasn't that the sedan?
Exactly. So in Canada, the Stanza is the sedan, and the Multi is like the van thing.
Okay.
But in the States, they're both Stanza.
Oh.
So it's like the Stanza sedan, and then there's like a Stanza's that thing.
Okay.
They might call it a Stanza like Multi or Stanza something, but they're both Stanzas, right? But yeah, the guy shows up with like a 87 Stanza, thing's clapped out, but he's got but it was cool.
But he brought like what 3, 4, 5 sets of cool Japanese.
Yeah,
wheels.
He had them on the roof rack and his display was fun. Yeah. And you chatted with the guy for like an hour.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So it's not about
like young guys that are into the 80s Japanese stuff.
Yeah, so it's not about like the quality of the car necessarily. And I'm not saying it wasn't a cool car. I enjoyed it. I was happy.
Now I'm thinking, what was my favorite car?
I don't know.
From that show. I don't know. There's some pretty good ones there.
I don't know. I'm always drawn to the weird stuff. So you like the Multi. I love that Caravan. The guy who brought that turbo Caravan from BC with the collector plates. I always get a kick out of seeing collector plates on like a car that's just, why are you wearing these collector plates? You see his car.
It made sense on that car though. It was a turbo van.
No, right? I know. But I just mean like
he put money into it, like reupholstering the interior, redoing the headliner.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like I like to see that. You see an oddball car, like just a generic car that's like in excellent condition.
Yeah.
So I like seeing that kind of stuff because there's always, like you even mentioned, like the Lotus Esprit. Every Lotus Esprit is in good condition. Well, that's not true, but more often than not, they're all cherished in the garage and stuff like that. But when you see these oddball cars that are usually like dead in the boneyards and they're like immaculate, it's always cool to get. I always get a kick out of that.
Yeah. So
that was cool to see, just stuff like that, right? That's why we go to these events, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's good.
You're forgetting one show though.
Tell me more.
That one of the shows that you went to and I didn't go.
I want to hear more about this.
Volksfest.
Oh yeah, we went to Victoria. That's fun.
That's a show that unfortunately due to yearly camping trip that I can't go to. But
yeah, it's a fun time.
You and the boys. I think you guys make it out every year.
They've been going for the last couple of years now. They put a lot of effort in that show too, which is actually nice to see. It's not a huge show because, of course, of where it is. And
That's a local show on Vancouver Island.
Yeah, in Victoria.
Here in British Columbia.
But again, it's not a huge show because of, the demographic of people and of where it's being held, and it's hard to get to if you don't live on the island. It costs money to get there and all that kind of stuff. But they put a lot of effort into it and a lot of heart into it, and it's just fun. It's energetic. They're always on the loudspeakers the whole time, and they got the watermelon eating competition, and just like the little car races. It's just good times. Like they put effort into it. You can tell they really enjoy hosting the event. The crowds are good. The weather's fantastic.
Good time of the year for it.
Yeah, right in the middle of summer. We go with a bunch of guys. We find the sole single tree that's there. We can put our chairs under there, hang out, and it's great.
Yeah.
So we've gone 2 times. Last 2 years now. The first year we just went with Mike in his regular car, like his Mark 7 wagon, and then last year a bunch of guys brought their cars. Mike brought his Yellow Rabbit. A bunch of guys brought their older cars. That was cool. I was planning on bringing mine, but last minute I decided not to. But it was great. It was a really good time.
Okay.
The show doesn't have to be huge just to have a good time. It's also about who's there with you, and just having a chill hangout, right? And that's what it was. We just hung out all day.
Taking a ferry too. That's a cool component of the going out there.
Yeah, and it also adds a little bit to the complexity of it as well.
Of course,
but, I remember last year the show was done at something like 3 p.m. and we didn't get on the ferry till like 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
So it can make for a real long day if you don't plan it right. And as you know, our ferries.
You got a book next time.
I think we did. I don't remember. Our ferries are a disaster, but whatever. It was fun, right? We had a good day. But yeah, so I think that's good. Moving forward, our next video that drops will be another car feature video. So keep an eye out for that one. Our previous one with your Jetta did really well. I thought I was hoping that 200 people would watch it, and that's happened. Like that number came up real quick, and then it's over 500 views now, which in the grand scheme of things is nothing, but that's 500 people that
means
watched.
A lot to us.
Yeah, that's more than I was.
Even 5 views is.
Well, I don't know about 5, but 500 that's huge.
Yeah.
We're not doing this for any monetary gain, so just want to share this car stuff with the community, the local community, and 300, 400, 500 people watching these videos is fantastic. So we got a good one coming up next, and we've got a bunch of other features lined up. People seem to want to participate, so keep an eye out for us. We're going to be posting more content. Winter's coming, so there won't be so much opportunity to film features, but we've got plans, and we're going to show you more stuff. So
there's definitely some projects in the winter.
Yeah. So
we need to do our next batch of VWDOV stickers.
Yeah, that's true too.
There'll be a little bit of a modification there.
Yeah.
Eventually.
We ran out.
Yeah. Well, I kept one because that's the sample, right? And a couple other things down the pipeline, maybe some patches, some grill plaques. And do you know how many members we have in VWDOV?
No.
73 now.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Yeah.
As we talked about before,
slowly growing.
Yeah, but like we spoke about before, we don't want too many because we don't want everybody to show up at once because we can't handle it.
Of course, yeah.
So it's never been a goal to have a high number of members in the group. Again, everyone's welcome, as we always say, but it's never been a goal to have a high number, right?
Everyone's welcome as long as you show up to the cruises.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is, right? Yeah. So, all right, let's cut it there.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
See you at the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.